And thanks for staying with us. And of course, we are focusing this morning as well on the One Young World Summit in The Hague in the Netherlands. And Leanne is there. This summit will continue until Saturday. And we spoke to her earlier on where she was speaking with some of the organizers. And we do understand that she has some of the delegates who will be attending the summit with her. So we're going to cross to her shortly. Leanne, of course, covering this particular summit, and it is not the first time that this has been held. As she was explaining to us, we have even hosted this particular event. But it's over to Leanne and her guests now. Leanne?
Yeah, Sakina, thank you very, very much. You're quite right. This has been going on now apparently for the 9 years. This is the 9th One Young World Summit that's taking place. So next year, I think, is going to be a pretty big one when they've reached their 10 years. I've heard mutterings it may be in London, but I'm not too sure. But I think that's what I heard them saying. But nonetheless, let's turn our attention to the present and what we're going to be hearing today. Now, these are stories, and we're going to find the African story, because that is obviously where we feel most passionately about as an African country, South Africa, our neighbours, and the issues that affect so many of the youth on our continent. And that's the issue that we're going to address now. One of the panels that's going to be held is Young Leaders Against Sexual Violence. Now, they're representatives from all over the world, but we've managed to get 2 of the African representatives to come and talk to us. Let me quickly introduce them to you. I'm going to tell you very quickly about them. I've got Queen Babaloki Geresi. She's from Botswana. Now, Queen was a victim of sexual violence when she was 9 years old, and in 11 she lost her father. I'll just tell you, the organization that she founded was called the Dream Hub. It's a project that supports survivors of gender-based violence. We're going to talk to Queen in just a short while. Then my next guest is Hawa Ojefu from Nigeria. Hawa suffered traumatic beginnings, also a victim of multiple sexual and domestic violence experiences, resulting in a diagnosis of bipolar and post-traumatic stress disorder. She found an organization called She Writes Women. I'm going to find out more about them both as we chat to them. Queen sitting right next to me, and Hawa sitting just a little bit further away. It is so nice to have both of you talking to us here on Morning Live. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Such brave faces, such brave women, and you're the example of the kind of young leaders that are represented here. But Queen, if we may begin with you, you are part of this panel, this discussion that will happen later this afternoon, all highlighting the sexual abuses that women go through. Tell us your story just a little bit, if you can.
Okay, so when I was 9, I was sexually assaulted. There was a stranger that was invited into our household, a friend to my older sister, and everyone in that particular time went out, and that certain stranger just took advantage. I was only with my little brother, who witnessed the whole thing, and by that time he was like about 4, and it has always been a traumatic experience for him.
Yeah. I mean, Botswana, we live right next to you, and amazingly, as South Africans, our stories are not dissimilar to yours, and that's why you're a major voice for the young women on the continent, and you speak to so many women that go through what you're going through. But you've moved forward. You've created this foundation. What is it that you do? How do you try and help other young girls?
Okay, so after finding my voice, because for so many years I was voiceless because of abuse. But after finding my voice and getting assistance, I started the Dream Hub project as a way of helping the next victim come out by sharing my story. So the Dream Hub project, it's more of we adopted a preventative approach to the whole thing. So we offer education around issues surrounding gender-based violence. And we also, because I'm a psychological counselor by training, we also offer psychosocial support for free to all the girls and the women who have endured the trauma. And we also try to provide a platform for intergenerational dialogue. And mostly we reach out to rural communities because we realize that's where there's little or no opportunity for work.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on to Hawa now, because you take an angle that is so important when it comes to the repercussions of sexual violence on young girls and on women. You know, sometimes we don't actually look further than the moment that the sexual abuse happened, and we worry about that. But the after effects on the mental ability and strength of women. This is where you come in. Talk to us about your story.
Absolutely. So when I got raped in my own bed, it was such quite a journey, because there's so much misinformation about mental health generally. People, you don't know where to go to first. You don't know who to talk to first. I mean, there are beginning to be resources, but not enough. And then, I mean, I didn't even know till years after that one of the best ways to either report is, once you get raped, you should go straight to a crisis center. You shouldn't take a shower or anything. But that's your first instinct. You want to take a shower. You want to wash off everything. So for me, I washed off. And I was consoling myself that with time it's going to get better, and it's just going to be okay. It was an unfortunate situation, but I had to see the perpetrator for a very long time, for a whole year, every single day, and that caused me to begin to have panic attacks, and I would literally not be able to breathe. It affected my work life, my other relationships, and how I saw myself. So my self-esteem was so low. And I just couldn't sustain relationships, because I was always thinking, someone's out to get me, someone's out to get me. And whilst I thought that time was healing it, I didn't realize the impact it had on my mental health. So nightmares went on for a very long time, and then I began to literally break down. So that was where the PTSD came in. I was overly sensitive. I later got diagnosed, and I just realized how important it was for people to hear different kinds of stories when it comes to sexual violence, and the fact that it's not always the narrative that we hear. Sometimes it's someone that you actually love, or someone that's really just around you, and
you got the same story.
Yeah, it's amazing. Story. It's amazing how it's not so unique, and how in my organization we find that 7 in 10 women who have come in contact with my organization have actually experienced some sort of sexual violence at least one time in their life.
Yeah, it's frightening. You actually attempted suicide because of everything that you were going through the mental illnesses, the problems, the panic disorder, these are repercussions that one can... It is obvious that you're going to go through this if you do not deal with it. Now, your organization called She Writes Women, it's a safe forum. What is it? Has it got to do with people writing their experiences, discussion groups? How does it work?
So I like to call She Writes Women a movement of love, hope, and support. So that's the foundation of everything that we do: love, hope, and support. Because when you deal with issues like this, first you lose that sense of self-love, and that fact that, I'm not deserving of to be loved, or maybe there's something impure or something really dirty about me, or I deserve all the harsh things. And to someone else it seems very irrational, but that's what this kind of trauma can do. It can literally reprogram your thinking to think that I'm just not good enough. Hope, because a lot of us go through this and we are silent about it, and then the perpetrators get to live their lives and confidently and all of that, and we have to keep our stories inside. Support, because you definitely can't do this alone at all. So one of the major things we do is Safe Place, and it's a support group for women to come together and just freely express, judgment-free, stigma-free, freely express the issues they're going through, get that kind of sisterhood and just support and accountability, and also being able to be connected to counselors, coaches, psychologists, or psychiatrists, depending on what the issue is.
Ladies, to be chosen to be a part of Young World, to go and sit up on that stage and share your stories along with a host of other young leaders. How did you get chosen firstly, and what does it feel like to be a part of this?
Wow, I'm very, very excited. I always believe that young people or young leaders, it's time for them to recognize opportunities, and that opportunities are everywhere. So for me, I applied. I saw it on Opportunity Desk. Yeah. So I applied for the scholarship. I'm here on a scholarship through Carol Stone Foundation. And I'm really looking forward to networking and meeting all these young, dynamic, amazing, passionate young leaders all across the globe.
Excellent. And for you?
So I knew a delegate before, and I was just invited. I mean, invited to a local forum, and I'm like, oh, this seems really interesting. I love the diversity. I love the videos. And I was like, okay, that's amazing. And I just applied. So I'm on a scholarship from the AstraZeneca Young Health Program, which is vested into the eradication of non-communicable diseases, because that's also very important, because when we think of diseases, we don't usually think about, you know, either non-communicable diseases or diseases that we do not see physically. And the truth is, mental health actually affects, you know, a lot of the physical diseases that we tend to see. So that's what we do there. And for the Young Leaders Against Sexual Violence, it was just an amazing honor to be selected. I didn't see that one coming.
It's absolutely incredible. I am so proud of both of you. And you're obviously still living in Botswana. Are you still living in Nigeria
yes,
as well?
absolutely.
So you're living in Nigeria, so both of you making a major impact. And whatever you learn here, the idea is to take it back there and hopefully create a new world.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So nice to have met you both, and I look forward to hearing you later this afternoon, and of course sharing it with South Africans as well as we broadcast live to you from The Hague. This is One Young World, and the guests we were talking to, Queen Babaloki Kgeresi from Botswana and Hawa Ojefo from Nigeria, both a part of a panel that will be held later, talking to sexual violence against girls on the continent. They are highlighting the continent, but if I tell you the rest, from Australia, from the UK, from the United States, I mean, the list is endless of the stories that will be shared today and what can be done to stop this. Let's take a break here on Morning Live. We'll see you again.